to do a little Q&A. Does anyone have questions? Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Elle. Good to see you.
Cate, I've been recently thinking about reaching out to a couple of the colleges and prep schools that are around and offering some things for the teachers, professors, and students, and as introductory kinds of things. But I'm also aware that during this time, it's not, you can't just like walk up there anymore. And sometimes when you call, you're not getting a person. I just wondered if you have any suggestions for breaking into markets like that.
I mean, I would just look at each relationship as they're each going to have their unique challenges, and getting to the right person on the phone or on Zoom, and just looking at, you want to do your research ahead of time with any of those opportunities. So when you do the research ahead of time, you're going to quickly see how you can help someone. So what you might even find is that, like, it's easier to talk to the person who's in HR. And if they're in human resources, like, you can ask them, hey, what are you guys doing in terms of holistic health for your students or for your employees, and find out some information, and what they're, do informational interviews, do some research, and just start to find out, like, ooh, I could be useful there. Ooh, I could be useful there. And that's really the way in. And I find with these, it's good to have on your radar, like, a good 5 companies or businesses or schools that you're wanting to network with. And then it's a follow-up, it's a long game, establishing deep, long relationships that keep giving back, and that will also network you to other businesses or educational institutes around the same size. Because usually it's like people know other players that are about their same level. And that's the value of putting some of that marketing time into networking.
Yeah, that's great.
It all comes down to, like, how can you serve, right? Like, where are their gaps? How can you be of service? What are their key issues? Obviously, people are going to come back after the holidays, and they're going to feel even worse than they feel right now. And for a lot of people, like, chronic inflammation leaves them feeling not very good most of the time. So it'll be worse. And so, like, how can you be useful in that environment is a lot of the conversation I would have right now. Like, hey, what's your plan for, kicking off the year right in terms of focus, or, like, what is their issue? Is it focus? And that's where, doing a little market research ahead of time can go a long way.
And would you do most of that online or with phone calls, or how would you do that?
I would start online, so that by the time I was on the phone, I knew something about them. In that warm calls guy I was showing you guys, just honestly Google, like, warm call script. Mm-hmm. And just see, like, 'cause warm calls are someone that's usually heard of you, or there's already been an introduction. Cold calls aren't. So you could also Google cold calls and how to network and cold call. That's where, again, you guys, like, I mean, I can answer a question in a minute or two here. YouTube can answer that question with, like, 2 years of if you were to play warm call free education on YouTube for the next 2 years, it'd keep you busy. There's, like, so much great stuff in there. From people, that's all they do, is that's their job, is to warm call or cold call. And so you can really get a system down with that. Yeah. Great. And it all starts with doing the research ahead of time, and then finding a point of contact. Now, if you have any introductions into places, like, whenever I'm on the phone with someone who's got, like, a good gig going, I ask them who else I should talk to. Mm-hmm. So, like, when I'm talking with another business owner of a business around the same size, business owners are networked to business owners. Who else should I talk to? Your customers are linked to, they all have friends that are of a similar ilk, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, who else should you be talking to? So always asking, like, and someone be like, I can't think of anyone. Okay, well, if you do, let me know. Or do you mind if I reach out in 2 weeks? Because maybe someone will have popped into your head. Mm-hmm. That's another really good way to, there's another line for that a lot of you can use, which is like, hey, can you give me 2 or 3 people that I could also have a conversation with? Even if you get one, because you're over asking, so people will retract and give you one. But that's actually really different than being like, do you have someone I can talk to? And they'll say no, right? Instead of, like, you asked for 3, they give you 1. That's better than asking 1 and getting 0. So that's how this kind of works. And you can, poke around, like, you'll find through all this stuff is throw spaghetti at the wall and see what works, right? You'll find through asking, just keep asking around different contexts, like, who's working at that school in biological sciences, who's working in health sciences, and, like, who's actually interested in health. like real health, not the concept of it, but people around them feeling better. And once you find that person within an institution, they'll know who else to talk to.
Thanks, Cate.
Yeah, you bet. It's been fun to see your growth, Elle, in yoga health coaching. Really cool.